Is the CIA running secret concentration camps in Gaza? Well, not so secretively anymore. Our next guest, journalist Dan Cohen from Uncaptured Media, has uncovered a bombshell about what the CIA is actually doing in Gaza, fresh off his recent trip to Israel. Dan Cohen joins us now. Dan, when I saw your report, my jaw hit the floor. The CIA running concentration camps in Gaza, what did you find?
Yeah, Clayton, that's basically the plan. Right now, the U.S. and Israel have approved a plan to send 1,000 CIA-trained mercenaries, American soldiers, former British soldiers, French, Kurdish soldiers, to create what are concentration camps in the Gaza Strip. And they're basically what they want to do is clear out all resistance in the north of Gaza, which of course is being ethnically cleansed, and we're seeing daily massacres in this area right now. And they want to take a village, a neighborhood called Al-Tatra in the northwest of Gaza, and use this as basically a test case to take Palestinians, concentrate them inside neighborhoods and surround them with walls that they can only enter and exit with using biometric data. So whether that's fingerprints or their eyes, their pupils, their retinas, who knows what it might be. They don't specify, but this is a very modern, technologically sophisticated version of the same kind of concentration camps that what was in Vietnam the U.S. used. They called the Strategic Hamlet Program, or was used in Iraq and Afghanistan, where they called it gated communities, was the nice flowery term they used. And so they want to roll this program out. It's been approved by Jake Sullivan, the White House National Security Advisor, who is basically running the foreign policy of the United States, because obviously Joe Biden isn't and Kamala Harris isn't. So this unelected bureaucrat, this war hawk who famously said Al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria to Hillary Clinton, is now running our foreign policy and has approved this. So it's being done through a private company run by an Israeli-American businessman named Moti Kahana. His company, he calls the Uber for war zones. So privatized version. So they can send these mercenaries to basically surround these walled off ghettos, and people living inside can only get humanitarian aid if they submit their biometric data and they're approved. The others who don't will not receive any aid, meaning food, water, medicine, anything like that, and presumably those ones will be killed. So this is the counterinsurgency model that the U.S. has applied again and again in the post-World War II era that has failed repeatedly. And I think it's likely to fail in Gaza, as Palestinians are sure to resist.
So let me see if I get this right. The United States government under Jake Sullivan and the warmongers in Washington, D.C. have approved a plan that basically funnels millions of dollars to a private company that's going to use former American soldiers, CIA operatives, French soldiers, British soldiers, etc., mercenaries, bring them together to execute this plan, and then they can basically sit back and wash their hands of it because it's being run through a non-governmental organization, right? No, the CIA is not involved in this. We've just simply cut a check for it.
Right, exactly. And the man who's actually designing the entire thing, his name is Justin Sapp. He's a longtime American CIA operative official who was one of the first, who led the CIA paramilitaries when the U.S. invaded Afghanistan after the 9/11 attacks. And now this guy is tasked with designing this whole plan for Gaza. And if it's successful in this one neighborhood in Gaza, this is what they want to do throughout it. Now, I reported last November 2023, that the U.S. military's top publication had published an article by a guy named Omer Dostri, who then went on to become Benjamin Netanyahu's spokesperson. And this article called not only for the total destruction of Lebanon, but laid out a few different options for how Israel should handle Gaza, for what to do in the long term, whether that they're try to install the Palestinian Authority there, try to install some other sort of collaborator regime, try to have some kind of international mandate, get Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain to send troops in there to basically occupy for Israel. But none of those countries, or to have a direct Israeli occupation itself, but none of those countries were willing to do it because it would look so bad for them to their populations. But the U.S. is now not only footing the bill, but going to do the bidding, do this bidding of Israel in Gaza by creating these concentration camps for Palestinians. So, this is where our tax dollars are going, $200 million to be exact. This plan has been in the works for, certainly they've been talking about it. That article demonstrates the idea has been circulating of what exactly is going to be the long-term solution, some kind of way to pacify the Palestinians of Gaza. But this specific plan has been in the works since February of this year, and it's basically a U.S. plan that Netanyahu has finally agreed to.
Even some liberals are being slammed for their honesty about what's been happening in Gaza. Writers like Ta-Nehisi Coates, who've admitted to the apartheid state in Gaza, and others. You have Roger Waters, who's not a liberal by any stretch of the imagination, formerly of Pink Floyd, who's been speaking out with his own eyes. You've been to Gaza, you've been to this area, you know it well. So this idea that these people are free, that they'll be free to sort of walk around, is a joke, right? And they will be under basically an authoritarian security state in order to live their lives.
That's exactly what it is. And it's, I think during the COVID era, it's what so many Americans, particularly, who are skeptical of the COVID regime, and particularly among conservatives and those who consider themselves patriotic and demand their liberty, they became outraged by this idea that we're going to have this biometric security state that would control every aspect of our lives. But the Gaza Strip is, for many years, has been a laboratory, a testing ground, not only for Israel, but for the international corporate interests. During the COVID era, Israel, a Pfizer spokesperson said that they used the Israeli population as a sort of laboratory for their products. The West Bank is where Israel tests its repression tactics and exports those around the world, especially to the United States. And the Gaza Strip is basically the genocide laboratory and is being used now to develop this strategy. And if you think that your American passport, your American citizenship protects you, you should think again, because this is the exact kind of thing that they want to impose on any kind of population. It doesn't have, whatever it is, if it's racial or or any kind of thing, it doesn't have to be a racial thing. It can be anybody who decides, they don't want to take this jab in their arm or whatever it is. Now you're considered a threat to society, and you're going to be treated like a Palestinian stuck in some concentration camp where you can't live unless you submit your biometric data. You can't get food and water and medicine unless you submit that. So this is the exact kind of thing that we have to stop over there, even if you don't, if you're not sympathetic to Palestinians or whatever. This is the kind of thing that will eventually be imposed on us. Palestine is the laboratory for all of the worst things that our ruling class wants to do to us.
Yeah, and we've seen the same also rolled out in Ukraine, right? We've seen similar, as you've covered, the DIA app and being able to monitor every movement that you make. And we use these in war zones, and that's where the CIA and, of course, the United States government loves to swoop in and use these as sort of a petri dish, if you will, in order to test these things. So they'll be using them against these Palestinians, but of course, this has always been about a land grab. It has since 1947. Israelis who want this land, trillions of dollars in minerals and wealth that sits off the coast of Palestinian lands. The plan to ethnically cleanse this area has been in place since the late 40s. This has been the plan all along. And we saw over the past 24 hours, we see members of Netanyahu's Likud party in southern Gaza basically holding a conference for their plans for for resettling of Gaza by bringing Israelis into Gaza. So Anthony Blinken just arrived there for his sort of post-war plans, it seems, to line up with Netanyahu. The plans are to take over this entire area. And they're even putting out T-shirts. I mean, Netanyahu's not even being quiet about their plans for Gaza. So the idea is that Israel basically will take over Gaza. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they will have these sort of pockets of concentration camps then spread throughout. Is that the plan?
That's certainly what it looks like. I mean, I haven't seen anything on paper explicitly saying that, but we clearly know that the U.S. and Israel are seeking to create these concentration camps, and that's going to be rolled out this week, at least the first one. They'll attempt to do that. And yes, we had on Monday a conference of powerful Israeli government officials, including Itamar Ben-Gvir, the national security minister, one of the arguably the most powerful and influential person in the Israeli government, in Israel itself, partaking in this conference, along with several other officials who are actually from Netanyahu's Likud party, who are openly saying that we are going to build settlements in Gaza, just as it had done before. It's not the first time. There were settlements built after 1967 that existed until 2005, when Israel unilaterally withdrew from Gaza and then put a siege on Gaza in order to basically say, well, we're going to give up this tiny piece of land and concentrate a huge amount of the Palestinian population inside it. So it's a very small sacrifice, and then focus our resources on expanding settlements in the West Bank, which is much bigger and more resource rich, excluding the gas deposits off the coast of Gaza. So that was very offensive to a significant portion of the Israeli population, which they believe that God gave them that land. God is a real estate agent, and so they've always always been zealous, always desired to resettle that land. And so with October 7th, they saw it as their big opportunity. They were really excited about what happened, because finally they can expel, ethnically cleanse the Palestinians, go there and build settlements. So there's this sort of plausible deniability that Netanyahu has, where he says to the world, oh, no, we're not going to build settlements. This is just about security and defending ourselves from these awful terrorists. Meanwhile, Israeli society is saying, no. We are going to ethnically cleanse everyone. We're going to kill them all, and we are going to build settlements in there. So Netanyahu is, just he's lying. He's the fig leaf over this entire agenda.
Right. Yeah, it explains why, for 7 hours on October 7th, the Israeli military did nothing, right? Stood down. It's a perfect catalyst. I mean, it's an absolutely brilliant, perfect catalyst to then use as justification to go after and label everyone as Hamas, grab that land, grab the minerals, grab the resource. People, wake up. I mean, don't be stupid. It's all about the money and the resources. Don't be an idiot. I mean, you even have scumbag Jared Kushner, right, who threw President Trump under the bus and aligned himself with Mike Pence, who's been making plans for Gaza for a long time. And even just a number of months ago, even publicly talked about this. So hopefully people will wake up and don't be sheep. Don't be sheep. I want everyone to read your amazing piece on the CIA. I mean, I don't know how Americans can sit by and just allow this to happen. But actually, before I get you out of here, Dan, I just want to understand the mechanics of these camps, if you could. How many people are going to be in one of these camps? Do we have an idea of the numbers? Will it be large? Will it be small? Will they be like apartment complexes? Are we talking about like housing projects in the United States? Do you know the size and scope of these?
They haven't given any of that information, those kind of details. Of course, it's very secretive. The head of the company, Moti Kahana, has posted a screenshot or two on his X account, but he hasn't really given these details. And of course, we just regular citizens, we're not privy to those kinds of details. That's for Jake Sullivan, who's basically our president at this point. So they haven't said, but they want to do it neighborhood by neighborhood. So I mean, it's considering there's 2 million plus Palestinians in Gaza. This is quite a serious project that they want to undertake. But I think we can look to a more kind of like what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, what the U.S. did, and Fallujah, for example, where they basically try to create sterile zones where there's no resistance. The Palestinians are totally pacified, do not have any way to resist, and if they try to protest or rise up, they'll basically be, the mercenaries will use crowd control methods. They have said this, we'll use rubber bullets and tear gas and fire in the air. And then if we need to, we'll do worse. So then they'll just massacre people. So this is basically what it's setting up for, is to put these people in concentration camps with using biometric ID identification for them to go in and out and receive aid. And if they don't go along with it, then, they'll suffer the worst consequences.
Well, Antony Blinken just arrived in Israel overnight to deliver another $5 billion in aid from the Biden administration while Americans are suffering at home. So are you guys okay with that? Everyone watching right now, let me know in the comments below. Dan, great to see you from Uncaptured Media. Read his great piece on this CIA bombshell. Dan, great to see you as always.
Always good to be with you.
If you suffer from daily pain, I need you to listen to this message very carefully. What we know about pain relief is changing forever. As we age, aches and pains are normal, and we're all searching for effective ways to relieve pain without side effects and addiction. Let's be frank, we've all seen the horrors of the opioid crisis. You may even be affected personally. Your family might know someone that has been affected by this. That's where a pioneering medical scientist comes in, Clint Winters. You may have seen the world-renowned health expert featured in the national media. He's unveiled a natural pain reliever that has taken the world by storm. And I'm talking about Canoladine, the 100% drug-free way to get full-body pain relief without dangerous pills. As you read this right now, Canoladine has become the go-to pain reliever for over 1 million Americans, hundreds of professional athletes. It was even named as the UFC's #1 official pain reliever for the UFC. Right now, you guys can try it. Go to trycano.com/redacted, and you're going to get it for less than $1 per day. You can access the only Canoladine product in the world for less than $1 per day. Clint has provided this special link for you guys. You can guys get this special discount. Just go to trycano.com/redacted. I see a bunch of people in the chat who've already ordered this. Give it a shot. If you suffer from chronic pain, you don't want to have that addiction from drugs, try kano.com/redacted, the 100% drug-free Canoladine. Try it for less than $1 a day.